G'day guys, ChampChong here, and today we are talking about Xbox's Project Scorpio. And if you do end up enjoying this video and you're excited for the Scorpio, please remember to smack that like button real good. Now, as you can tell, this isn't my usual setup. I'm actually in the middle of moving. I'm at a friend's place here in Sydney. Yes, I moved from Perth to Sydney here in Australia. So yeah, that's why the setup's a little bit different. It's gonna be a little bit different for a little bit of time until all my stuff gets shipped to my new place. Anyway, let's actually get to the video itself and stop talking about me. Let's talk about the Xbox Scorpio, the Project Scorpio, whatever you want to call it, because, well, it's just a code name. We don't know what it's going to officially be called. That will probably be revealed at E3. Now, it was actually pretty interesting the way that Microsoft went about revealing the Scorpio specs and all this stuff that they were leading up to just a couple of days ago when they did reveal all the specs in it. Instead of actually setting up a huge event, live streaming it, and doing all that kind of stuff and showboating, they decided to go kind of to the community route, and they used Digital Foundry, and they also used Eurogamer to get that word out there. The guys over at Digital Foundry went like really in depth with this stuff, and it's amazing just the amount of detail that they got from just their session alone with this console, or I guess system, whatever you want to call it. Now, most of you guys probably know about all the specs and everything, but we are going to gloss over them just really quickly here, but I will do a full in-depth video. If you want to see that, make sure you leave a comment down below if you want to see more in-depth stuff about the Xbox Scorpio. I will touch on that, but let's quickly just take a look at what's on the inside of Project Scorpio. So as you can see right here, it's a comparison of the Scorpio, the Xbox One, the normal Xbox One that is, and also the PS4 Pro, which just came out about 6 months ago or so, and that is the Pro version of the PlayStation 4, just like the Scorpio is, I guess, the Pro version of the Xbox One. And you can see right there that the Scorpio pretty much wins in every case. It does. It just does. It's the newest console coming out, and it's sort of this half-generational thing that I'm calling. And you can see on screen right there, it actually has an optical drive that does 4K UHD Blu-ray, unlike the PS4 that doesn't do that. However, the games can play in that. This is talking about movies and that. As for the memory, you can see it's got 12 gigs of GDDR5 RAM, and then you've also got a comparison there to the side where the PS4 Pro has only 8. Now, one thing I want to touch on about the RAM there is that this Scorpio doesn't use the GDDR5X or rely on ES RAM to boost the bandwidth. A total of 12 gigs of RAM is available via 6.8 GHz GDDR5 modules operating across a 384-bit interface. So in comparison, when we look at this chart, you can see the difference between the PS4 Pro and the Project Scorpio. Now, this is all impressive and everything, but as I said, I feel a little bit disappointed with this whole thing right here, because it's tough to really gauge as to what all this really does mean, because they have these Jaguar chips and all this stuff that goes into the system. It's all very custom stuff. It's not stuff you'd normally find in a PC or anything, so it's really difficult to compare everything, especially since it was the guys at Digital Foundry who do amazing work. I expected them to kind of go a little more in depth. I was reading and reading and reading, and I felt like, you know, like something right here was very like closed off. What I mean by that is that I felt like maybe Microsoft were like, hey, you cannot say this stuff, this stuff, this stuff, this. But then again, they did give enough stuff to give us information. I'm pretty sure this is all gonna be revealed at E3. We're gonna get a lot more hands-on stuff like that. I'll be at E3 this year, hopefully. So yeah, I'll get some hands-on exclusive stuff and maybe some interviews with some guys over at Microsoft about the Scorpio. And hopefully we can find out a release date at E3, because that would be pretty cool. But now for the real question at hand. How will the Xbox Scorpio do in the market? Will it fail or will it succeed? This is a very interesting time in gaming, especially with consoles. PCs have always been moving quickly, always upgradable, always just changing. But the console market usually lasts about 8 years before we see a new generation, a new cycle of consoles. However, this time around, it feels like they're doing these half-generational things where every 3 or 4 years, they're changing. And I think it's just the way that consoles will move in the future, and I totally understand that it's not the most ideal thing for younger gamers and more casual gamers, but that's just the way that technology is moving. It's rapidly changing, and we need to adapt, especially in the console market. But even though both Sony and Microsoft have decided, okay, we're going to be releasing these Pro versions of consoles, doesn't mean that it's going to be a good thing. It could fail because it could alienate people out there who are casual gamers. The PS4 Pro has actually been doing quite well recently because, well, it's actually got games for it. Look at Microsoft on the other hand though. it just hasn't been a good year or a good few months. Like, they had some great games last year, but this year leading up, we really don't know what's coming out. So how will they actually sell this console? Who's going to buy a Pro version of the Xbox One, the Scorpio that is? And then what are they gonna play? Like, seriously, I want this console. I want something amazing in my living room. And I don't want to always be behind my PC to get the best games. But there are just no games out there on the Xbox One or just Xbox exclusives and Windows exclusives that are going to take advantage of this thing. Well, there's none that we know of right now. So it's a very interesting time for Microsoft in general, because we do understand that the console market is changing. Maybe it's just a thing that's happening now and it could revert back to that whole 8 or 7 year cycle where it does take a little longer for consoles to change. But gamers need games. We don't want consoles coming out all the time. That's just kind of stupid. It's going to take a lot of money out of our pockets, and console games especially are more casual and they just want games to play on the couch or something like that. They don't want the newest, most best hardware. That's what PC gamers are like. I've got that. I'm happy with my PC, but I want games on my console that I might not get on a PC. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, on the PlayStation 4. It's an amazing game, but then it actually takes advantage of the PS4 Pro's capabilities. And we need something like that on the Xbox One. So, or I should say the Xbox Scorpio. So I'm really excited to see where they do take all this, because I know E3 they will probably reveal some exclusive games and they better come out this year. But I'm also very skeptical and a little nervous and just a little, you know, I'm not too sure about Xbox right now. Another point I want to bring up about this Scorpio is that we don't know the price just yet. I'm gauging that it's going to be around $400 to $500 US. You're probably thinking, holy crap, that's a lot of money. But the thing is, this is probably the Xbox that will last for the next 10 or so years. Now, on top of Xbox not having many exclusives to use the power of the Scorpio, we've got to talk about games actually being held back. The production, the development of games not going to full power because, well, you have a console like the Xbox One that was already struggling to hit 900p, and they've got to actually develop games that work on this 900p system at the same time as it does on a 4K 60 FPS system. I don't know how devs are going to do that. It's going to be very tricky. Some developers are probably going to be like, well, I'm not going to develop for the 4K version. I'm just going to go for the regular Xbox One. And then some will go, okay, we want to do 4K 60, but it's going to really hurt us because we're sitting back and going, we need this dev team over here to work on this older system, the Xbox One and the Xbox One S. So it's a bit of a struggle there in terms of development. That's another thing that I just wanted to bring up, because it's a real good question to bring up as to how will they manage to actually develop for both. Like PS4 does well and the PS4 Pro does well, and they're managing to do that right now, but how will it work on the Xbox side of things? I'm excited to see how it happens, but at the same time, again, I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know where this is all going. So yeah, it's going to be very tricky to see how they do with development, how they're going to bring out exclusive games, what they're going to do in that sense. But the one thing I also wanted to touch on here is the price point, because if the Xbox Scorpio's price is a little too high, it's not going to do well, because people are not going to buy it. They'll have to market the hell out of that thing to sell it if it's like $600. I think if it's between $400 and $500, which is still a very expensive price for a console, but it is a pro version of a console, I think it'll do okay. But then again, Microsoft also probably won't want to take a loss on a console like this. They already did with the Xbox One. I think PlayStation did the same thing with the PS4. And it's a tricky position to be in for Microsoft. They don't want to lose money on this console, but at the same time, they don't want to alienate people and go, yeah, we can't afford this. Like a general person out there won't be able to afford a $600 Pro console. They may as well just go build a PC for themselves. And at this time, we actually don't know the price. That's one other thing that'll probably be revealed at E3. I'm excited to see how they reveal it, because it's a really scary thing for them, because if they go too high, as I said, boom, no one's buying that thing. If they go too low, their profits are just not going to be there. They're going to lose money. So that's one thing I just wanted to bring up right there. And now I want to talk about one other thing. And it's something that pretty much divides the gaming community in half. Because at this point in time, we're in a transitional stage. A lot of people have full HD screens, and then some people have 4K. And the way things are moving, it's all going to rapidly shift towards 4K in the next 3 years. Just like we did from standard definition to 720p, and then we went to to 1080 and it's been the standard for so long. But with 4K, it comes down to bandwidth. A lot of people aren't streaming that stuff because the internet just isn't there. The infrastructure hasn't been set, and especially here in Australia, we have like the worst, especially like me recently. I've been trying to find an apartment here in Sydney and I had to look exactly which one had good internet, and that was a nightmare. So you get my point right there. 4K is in this weird spot right now, just like consoles are, but we know that it will eventually become the standard. But do we need it at this point? Do gamers who are just sitting on their couch playing casual games like FIFA, or they're just playing Ratchet & Clank or something like that, do they need 4K 60? I don't think so. Not at this stage. Maybe in 3 or 4 years from now. And that's why I think, yeah, it's cool that they're bringing out these pro versions of consoles. But maybe they should have just waited 3 or 4 more years and brought out the Xbox 2 or whatever, the PS5 or something like that, instead of having these half-gen consoles. So yeah, that's one other thing. I love the idea of 4K 60, and Microsoft do want to focus on that. They want to hit that target for every pro version of a game, but I just don't see it happening just yet as to becoming a standard, and especially being a selling point for casual gamers. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem the way to market something. It's just my opinion, I guess. So yeah, I guess this is pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. I just gave my opinion on a few things, touched on a few dot points that I really wanted to get to. I will have a lot more talking about this, a lot more in depth, but right now I'm just still trying to get my head around things because it's still very early. E3 is what, like 6 weeks away, something like that. I'm not too sure, but I will hopefully be there. I've got a bunch of other trips coming up, and hopefully I can get some exclusive interviews and stuff like that with Xbox, with the team here in Australia. I'm not too sure. I can't promise anything because now I live like 20 minutes from their office. So yeah, it's not too bad. But anyway, guys, hopefully you did enjoy this. If you want to see more of this, leave a comment down below. And also, if you did enjoy this, please smack the like button real good. And I will see you guys in the next video.